Hey, all you cool cats and kittens.
You
I'm
can't
just
even
kidding.
say it with a straight face.
I'm just fucking kidding. This is Dan Kornhauser,
This is Bobby Hunt.
and we're going to take you down into the world of sports once again.
You
We're
want to
going
be
to
Carol Baskin? That's fine. I'll be Joe Exotic. I'll be the popular one.
Carol Baskin. Nah, we're not going to be Carol Baskin. We're not going to dip nobody in sardine oil. We're not going to kill our husbands, okay?
No, she hasn't been proven guilty yet, but I believe it.
Yeah, yeah. So, anywho, we're going to talk about football. No more about Tigers and gay Cowboys, all right?
Maybe LSU Tigers, but not those kind of Tigers.
Yes. I like what you did there. Let's get into it. We're going to keep going
And
with our
a
defensive
Clemson
preview.
Tiger, actually.
Are
Very
you
fit.
done with the fucking Tigers? Are you
Well, you
done?
chose a good time. You must have planned this to be saying, hey, all you cool cats and kittens, because it's very fitting considering some of the prospects we're about to talk about. They played
Oh,
teams named after Tigers.
how about Tigers from Missouri? How about those Tigers,
Yeah,
Bob?
that's another one. But when we look at these linebacker prospects, the number one is clearly Isaiah Simmons, who was a Clemson Tiger.
Lions, Tigers, and linebackers. Oh my. Here
Oh
we
my.
fucking
The
go.
Bengals pick number one, of course.
Yo, fucking serendipitous as shit, bro. So we already talked about the edge rushers. We already talked about the defensive linemen. Now we're going into the linebackers, okay? We're going to the back seven. And there's some real fucking talent out there at linebacker this year, Bob. It's top heavy in my opinion,
Very
but I
top
think
heavy.
there's a lot of quality to be had in those middle rounds, third, fourth, and fifth rounds. I've got a lot of guys clustered in that third to fifth round range. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got about 12 guys in my third or fourth round range for linebacker grade wise. So that gives you an idea what we're talking about. And I'll go a little in depth on that front later on. But the linebacker class starts at the top, baby. Isaiah Simmons. Bob alluded to it a few minutes ago. Clemson Tiger. He's classified as a linebacker, let's just say. But let's not get it twisted, folks. As I'm sure you know by now, Isaiah Simmons is maybe the best defensive player in this whole class, and a Swiss Army knife of sorts in that when he played in college, not only was he a linebacker, both inside and outside, both in coverage and blitzing, but he also played safety. He also played nickelback. He played outside corner on a few times, and he also played ukulele at his head coach's wedding. Okay,
Wow, yeah. He's multi-talented, right?
maybe that last fact wasn't really a fact so much as it was just something I wanted to say ukulele in. But the point is, he's a talented young man who can play all over the field on defense, and he can play at a high level at any position you line him up at. And it's actually pretty fucking impressive.
Yeah, some of the best defensive prospects in this class.
I have two linebackers.
Oh, sorry, we had a little glitch there with the audio. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I have two linebackers with first round grades. I got Simmons and I got Ken Murray from Oklahoma. Bob knows I have a man crush on Kenneth Murray.
Kenneth Murray is another player that I really like. I actually don't have a first-round grade on him, but he's slightly outside of it. But I do have another Tiger in the top 20 of my first-round prospects at 22. And at number 18 is Patrick Queen of the LSU Tigers. I put him a little bit ahead of Kenneth Murray, but both great players, and I think it is very top-heavy. I really love Simmons, Queen, Murray, even Zach Vaughn out of Wisconsin. Then there's a little bit of a drop-off to me, and I'm not as high on the depth of this class as you are. But Isaiah Simmons is an all-world linebacker, or they could even play him at safety, depending on who picks him. Put him anywhere on the defense. It doesn't matter. He has that sideline-to-sideline speed. He can run with corners, run with running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. It doesn't matter who he lines up against. The only thing that I think he needs to add is if he's going to be pass rushing and maybe be like an outside linebacker, is he just needs to bulk up. He's got a very tall, lanky frame. He's about 6'4", 215, 220. But if he just could bulk up, a team could actually legitimately expect him to get at least 5 or 6 sacks rushing off the edge. He's not an edge rusher, but he can do it all. And I don't worry about positional fit with him, honestly. I just think he's that good.
And I just want to throw this out there. We went from the Tiger King to a Tiger Queen, and I like what you did there, Bob.
Oh, well, yeah. Oh, man, the puns are getting really bad now on this podcast.
Yo, that's why I'm over here.
We're going off the rails
giggling
on a crazy train now.
Yo, that's why I was over here giggling while you were talking about Queen.
I saw your face just
myself.
getting beat red. I was like, I don't know if he said anything because the audio is getting a little choppy at times. It's mostly good. I think we're all right here.
Yeah,
but,
I think we're okay.
But you getting like beat red. I was like, did I miss something? Did I do something stupid? But no,
I feel so much better.
Wholeheartedly inside yourself.
I feel so much better after getting that out. That's great. But anyway, no, dude, I agree with you wholeheartedly on Patrick Queen. I don't have a first round grade on him, but he is right there. I have 21 first round grades, and he's number 23 on my board. I have no problem with him being a first round pick. Like I said, or in other podcasts and other recordings that we've done videos recently for reviewing the defensive side, you have to have a certain amount of qualities and less question marks to be a first round grade in my book. And Queen was right there. And I agree with everything you said. I think he's a 3-down linebacker, elite speed, one of the fastest guys on the field. He's got great size for the position. He is a perfect asset to have at the linebacker position in today's NFL. Perfect piece. However, he does lack experience. He does need to get some work in. Okay, there's some times where he doesn't really know how to read the play, and he bites, and I want to see him disengage from blockers a bit better. He can get swallowed up in the run game. He's not much to once a lineman gets his hands on him. If he's not getting around him or going lateral or going in pursuit or something like that, he can disappear. So I want to see him get better as a run defender, but I think he's Devin White Jr. Maybe not to that level because White was a top 5 pick, top 6 pick, something like that.
Yeah, he went 5, I believe, last year. The Bucks.
But he is damn good. 85 tackles, 3 sacks, a pick. Red hot at the end of the year. Played real well against Clemson, but I want to see what he can do against the run.
I think his one pick.
Great.
I think his one pick was actually against Tua Tagovailoa. He baited him. It was a beautiful pick last year. And similar to along with Simmons as well, I don't think they're going to be perfect against the run. They're definitely not there yet. They're going to struggle shedding some blocks at the next level with some of the bigger offensive linemen that they're going to be matching up with. But the athletic profile is just ridiculous for both players.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, for me, I have Murray at number 19. So he was right on the cusp of not being given a first-round grade. But the thing that gave him the edge for me just a little bit over Queen, because like I said, I love Queen. Murray is pretty much a very similar talent. Sideline to sideline speed, great tackler, physical as shit. Scheme flexible, can play in a 4-3 or in a 3-4. He's got good size. He's real good in pass coverage. That's what you're looking for in your linebackers in today's NFL. What I like about him, what I don't like about him, because he's got a lot of good things. He's a leader. He's a hard worker. All that shit is there, and he can still get better. My concerns with him, he could have some medical concerns. He has been banged up at his time at Oklahoma. And sometimes he's a bit too aggressive and he takes himself out of the play. We've heard that before about guys coming out of college where they're so damn fast and they're so friggin' athletic and they're so good that sometimes they'll get to a spot early or they'll get too overzealous. Like he's a good blitzer. From the traditional linebacker position, I like him right behind Isaiah Simmons as a
You just went out.
just everybody because he's so damn fast and gets a little overzealous. But these are minor problems, and I think Murray can be right up there with guys like Leighton Vander Esch, who we saw his impact out of college, Tremaine Edmonds, just some guys recently that were drafted that really stood out. Do I think he's Devin White? No. But is he a step below like the Bears linebacker, Roquan Smith? Is he a step below those guys? Yeah. I really think he could be. But first round pick, let's shout.
Yeah, I definitely think those guys could be first-round picks. Simmons is a no-doubter in the top 10. Hopefully top 5. I think he belongs in there. I think the Giants are a team that should take him, but again, I'd be fine with them taking a tackle as well. But even you look at, say, the Chargers at 6, that defense could be very scary if they were to get Simmons and plug him into the middle of that defense, in the middle of that. Well, I think they're running more of a 4-3 now than they used to run a 3-4, but he could be scary for them.
Right.
You see a couple spots in the mid to late first round where you could see Queen, Kenneth Murray, and even Zach Vaughn out of Wisconsin be selected. Now, where are some of those landing spots that you think? Because when I look at it real quick, I see a team like the Vikings that always loves to have linebackers. I don't know necessarily that they'll invest that pick, but they do have 2, being at 22 and 25. The Seahawks, KJ Wright is on his last legs, and they really only have Bobby Wagner to write home without in their linebacking core. And the Ravens. I mean, that's probably the most obvious one to people because the Ravens run a 3-4. They've been hemorrhaging linebackers over the last 2 off seasons between Suggs, Darius Smith, C.J. Mosley. I think Patrick Owasu left this off season. Maybe not him. At least one other guy left. I think it was him. But basically, they're just losing all these linebackers. Where do you see some of these guys fitting in the mid to late first round?
Well, the Ravens absolutely stand out. They're the first team I thought of. The Jaguars are also up there. Besides Miles Jack, they have absolutely nothing.
Right, and people got to remember the surprise retirement of Telvin Smith last year.
That's why I'm saying they have absolutely nothing. If Smith was there, I'd be a little less concerned. Smith is a Pro Bowler. Jack has Pro Bowl potential. But it's just Jack out there, and they got rid of both their marquee corners. They got rid of Calais Campbell. They are rebuilding in every sense of the word. So, linebacker might be a bit of a stretch for the Jaguars in the first round. But if they were going best player available and both of those guys are there, take one of them. Plug them in as your leader on defense. Fuck it. Do a live. Is a linebacker a high priority position in general? No, not really. But why the fuck not? You got 2 first-round picks. You need talent. Fucking do it. But the Ravens, the Jaguars, just going down team needs. Probably the Chiefs could use some depth there. The Giants, absolutely. So maybe Bourne could be a target for the Giants early in the second round. If the Packers don't go wide receiver in the first round, linebacker is the only other position I see them addressing unless they trade down. And like you said, the Seahawks kind of stand out because KJ Wright, as you said, is on his last legs and he's got a fat contract. They could release him and save some money on the cap. I don't think they'll do that because he's a leader and a legitimate starter for them and is still a quality player. But I'm pretty sure his contract is expiring soon and he'll be on his way out. The Saints, if they don't go quarterback in the first round, the Saints could go linebacker, or even at the top of the second, the Panthers. Luke Kuechly retired, and they have gaping holes at every level on defense, as you said earlier.
Right. The only other one that I would throw out there is the Patriots. We talked about them a little bit, edge rusher, because they need outside linebacker help. They could also use inside linebacker help. They do still have Dante Hightower, but Landon Roberts left for Miami. Kyle Van Noy, who played a variety of roles with them, but mainly was an outside linebacker. He's gone to Miami also. So they could definitely use one of these guys. I think they'd love to get their hands on someone like Patrick Queen, for example, if they were to stay at 23 or even trade down.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. So outside of those top 3 guys, do you have any – so you said you had Queen and Simmons as first-round grades, not Murray.
Right. Murray was just outside.
Who do you have outside of those 3 guys? I know you mentioned Zach Vaughn. Do you feel like a guy like Jordan Brooks is worthy of a second-round pick or anything like that, or is it pretty much just a fall-off after those guys?
Kind of a fall-off, not a major one. I mean, I have some second-round grades on him as well as Willie Gay Jr. It looks like Anthony Jennings right outside of it. I have him as a 64 overall, maybe a little high, but I like Jennings. Alabama players, I generally favor a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, they just churn out talent with the best of them, so I do give a little bump in certain cases for Alabama players. Usually just very well coached for one thing, but also they're usually highly recruited out of the high school, so they have the talent. They might not have produced at Alabama,
Right.
but in the right situation, they can definitely produce. And they get with some of these guys with connections to Saban, say in New England with Bill Belichick, or Joe Judge now with the Giants, Flores with the Dolphins. I think a lot of these Alabama players will get high recommendations from their buddy Saban, and it could be a good steal in, say, the third round for someone like Anthony Jennings. But really, I don't have a lot of guys graded inside the top 100. I only have about 7 or so. So it's really Zach Bowen is 28th, so he's pretty high there. But then it's a fall off to Willie Gay Jr. at number 55. What about you?
Well, for me, I do only, like I said, I only have 2 first-round grades on Simmons and Murray. I do have Queen and Bowen as early second-round picks. But I do also have Jordan Brooks and Josh Uche.
Okay, yeah. See, Uche, I don't know, whatever. I think it's
Uche
Uche,
Walla
but
Walla.
whatever. From Michigan, I
Uche
had him
Bang
as an
Bang.
edge rusher, but you, for instance, have an outside linebacker. So maybe tell people why you project him more as a linebacker in whatever scheme it may be.
I have him at linebacker simply because I think he can fit in both a 4-3 front and a 3-4 front. I don't think he's strictly an edge rusher. When I looked at tape, I saw, yes, he is an effective edge rusher. Yes, he can make a stamp as an edge rusher. But I don't think that's just where his game lies. I mean, he's got the size, certainly. I think he's like 240 or something like that. 6'1", 245 at the combine. I have him at number 62 overall in my rankings. So he's right in that mid to late second round range. I don't think it's wrong to list him as an edge rusher, but for me, I think that kind of handicaps him as a prospect. That doesn't give him his actual due for his talent. I think he can be good in coverage, and I think he can play in a variety of schemes. He's not specific to just one. But the linebacking, I love these linebackers, dude. But it really is what you're looking for. So for me, I have I have 13 linebackers in my top 112. I've got 9 in my top 10 in my top 92. So for 4th round, that's where I have a lot of these guys slotted. And the reasoning behind that is a lot of these guys are very scheme specific, or they have off the field issues of some sort. Like Willie Gay Jr. has a few off the field issues that knocked him down the board. I think he's talented. I think he's got the physical measurables, but the character is a huge red flag, and it is something you have to take into account. And I think with coronavirus, COVID fucking everything up this offseason, and teams not being able to meet with players and meet with whoever the fuck they want to meet with, will impact guys like him. So while I think he might be, a late second, early third round prospect, I have him more the late third, early fourth type range. I have him at number 78 currently overall, which is right in the thick of like the third round. But then guys like Akeem Davis-Gaither, Malik Harrison. I love Jacob Phillips from LSU. He stood out to me on tape. Outside of Patrick Queen, Jacob Phillips is the other guy at linebacker on that team that over a Michael Divinity Jr. even, who has the name and the high school, 5-star athlete shit. I think Jacob Phillips is one of the higher potential, higher ceiling linebackers in this class because he's also athletic as shit, just as athletic as anybody else. He's got great size at 6'4", 230 at the combine. I have him at number 92 overall in my rankings. But it's an interesting class. It's very much top heavy in that I agree with Bob that once those top 4 guys are gone, it's going to be kind of iffy on where guys like Brooks and Uche and all these other guys end up going. But don't be twisted, folks. Just because they're going to be 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks does not mean that they're, for whatever reason, trash or just special team players or backups or something like that. Giants end up with one of these guys, Bob, they're going to be your starting linebacker. I mean, part of that is because your team is twat,
Oh, thanks.
but also it would speak to the talent of these guys. I think. Well, you're welcome. I'm just saying we're here to analyze. That's what we do. But no, that aside, I would, as a Lions fan, we need linebackers. So if the Lions ended up taking any one of these guys I have in my top 112, I'll be very, very pleased with that. Plug them right in. But after my top 12, it does drop off for me because after Troy Dye, who I have at 112, it's Kaliki Hudson from Michigan, who is classified, I think, by some as an edge rusher, but he's a little slight for that. So I have him at linebacker, and I have him at 151. So we go from like third, fourth round straight down to like the fifth, sixth round type range. So that's where the linebackers lie for me. But there's a lot of guys with a lot of different talent ranges that I think fit and will find good homes in the NFL. One of my favorite guys besides Phillip is Malik Harrison from Ohio State. I think he's very underheralded. I think he's strictly I don't think he's strictly a 3-4 or 4-3 guy. He's got great size, and I think he is someone who's also scheme flexible. So I'd be pretty interested to see where he goes more in the mid-range of the draft. That's 6'3", 247 from these.
Now I have just a few quick hitters for you before we wrap up the linebackers. Now, number one, what's the furthest that Isaiah Simmons would slide in the first round? Who does he not get past?
Oof. I've seen some crazy shit, Bob. I've seen some shit. I've seen Simmons drop out of the top 10 in some mock drafts, partially because of like offensive tackles going ahead of him and stuff like that, which I understand. Positional value is still very much a thing in the NFL. But Simmons to me is right up there with Young in terms of like transcendent talent. I absolutely love Isaiah Simmons. That man's my number 2 overall prospect. I have got this guy ahead of quarterbacks, okay? Potential franchise caliber starting Pro Bowl quarterbacks, which lets you know just how highly I think of him. And it's not because he's a linebacker. He can do fucking everything, and he does everything really, really well. It's really fucking impressive. And nothing really impresses me. I've said this before in podcasts, and I've even said this on our video recordings. I'm not very easily impressed. So for me to be impressed is something worth noting. But I think for him, the absolute lowest that this guy's going to drop is 9th. I think if he's sitting there staring like Jacksonville in the face, if they don't end up trading down or taking like C.J. Henderson or somebody like that, Isaiah Simmons, plug him right in. I was talking about them needing a linebacker, dude. Why wait until maybe Kenneth Murray or Queen or Zach Bourne later in the first round or one of these other mid-range guys in the 3rd or 4th round? Take the best defensive player in this fucking class besides Chase Young. Plug him right in wherever the hell you want. Do whatever you want with him, and you'll be fine. I think 9th is his absolute floor. And if you drop beyond that, it's only because like there was a run on tackles and shit like that. It got crazy.
I'd be completely shocked too if he fell past 9th. I agree. I think that's what his floor is, and I could definitely see something similar to last year. I mean, Jaguars still have the same regime in place. I know Coughlin's gone, but they still have Doug Marrone there, and I could see something similar to last year where the best player available just falls in a lap. Josh Allen fell to them at 7. I could see them rushing up to the virtual podium tomorrow, or rather Thursday, if Isaiah Simmons is still there and they're picking 9th. I could definitely see him fitting in very well with that defense. Now my next one, so I just have 2 more. Who might be a linebacker that completely falls out of favor with draft evaluators and falls to, say, the 7th round or undrafted? Usually we talk about someone who rises, that a sleeper, someone that's rising up the boards, but I'm actually going the other way with this for linebackers because over the years of evaluating prospects and looking at these drafts with you, I feel like there's always some linebackers and safeties that we project as like 2nd or 3rd round picks. and they wind up like undrafted or something. Whether it's usually going to be medical related with these guys. But is there anyone that
Mhm.
jumps out to you? Maybe say Willie Gay Jr. because of the off the field questions. Is there anyone else that jumps out to you that maybe we're evaluating as a second or third round prospect could see a huge slide in the draft?
I'm going to say Jordan Brooks. I'm going to say Jordan Brooks because I've seen from what rankings for scouting reports for mock drafts just to see how they compare to what I'm seeing and to fill in some gaps because we don't know anything about interviews, we don't know anything about medical examinations and shit like that. So we're not privy to access to that information. So we have to go by what we see on the internet, what we read and shit like that. Um, for me, what I've seen with Brooks is medicals. The medical is a huge question mark for him. It's it's rough because it's a couple of things with him. It's the medicals, and then it's also off the field concerns. Does he really care about the game? Is he coachable? Is he going to run into any problems off the field? The talent is there, and he can be a late first round pick, early second round pick. I think in one of my mock drafts recently, I had him as a second round pick for the Bengals at the top of the second round because they need linebackers, and this guy is another one of those modern era linebackers who can cover very comfortably, cover tight ends, cover backs. He's great in zone coverage. He's very fluid with his movement. You know, there's some guys that are like almost like robotic in a way with some of their moves. They're kind of stiff when they
Well, they have
when they
stiff
try to
hips,
like
right?
rush. Exactly. So he doesn't have that problem, and he's versatile. He can play inside and he can play outside. Um, but I think he's one of those guys. He has enough questions that even though the talent's there, I don't know if he'll go down to the seventh or a draft. I don't think we have anyone like that in this class. But I think the peak that he goes is late first, early second. I think the lowest he dropped is like fourth, fifth round. Absolute lowest, something crazy.
All right, great. And then the final one I have for you, since this seems to be the Tiger King themed episode of our podcast, is for LSU, and this is from Bet Online. Over under 5.5 players drafted in round one. And I'll throw out some of the names. Joe Burrow is definitely going in there. Caleb on, Chase on, Patrick Queen. But then you get into some questions like Christian Fulton, the cornerback, Justin Jefferson at receiver, probably still a first-round pick. But safety, Grant Delpit, Lloyd Cushenberry, the center, Clyde Edwards-Helaire at running back. Over under 5.5 in the first round.
I'm gonna go under. I'm gonna go under because I do have a shit ton of LSU Tigers ranked in my top 32. I got Burrow at 3, Chase on at 17, Jefferson at 20, wide receiver, Queen at 23, Grant Delpit at 26, Fulton at 31. I have 6 LSU Tigers in my top 31. Okay. Does that necessarily mean we're gonna see those 6 guys in the top 31? No. I don't think Delpit's a first round pick. I don't think Fulton's a first round pick. But it's going to be close. I think, we know Burrow's for show. We know Jefferson is damn near for show. And we know Chazon is damn near for show. Other than that, it's Queen. But even with Queen, it's only 4 guys. Fulton could be a first rounder. And maybe someone falls in love with Edwards-Helaire as a pass-catching back and a 3-down back, complete back after Swift, if Swift is taken earlier in the mid to late first round or something like that. But I'm going to go the under.
Yeah, I agree. Right now, that is the favorite at minus 400 for the under 5.5 because I tend to agree, and I think it'll be right at 5. Burrow, Chason, Queen, I feel pretty confident, as well as Justin Jefferson. But then between Fulton and Delpit, I think one of them does sneak into the late first round, but I don't think the other one does, and I don't think any of the other guys are worth a first-round pick. So I'm going to agree with you there.
Perfect. Do you have anything else you want to sprinkle on there at the top there to call it a day?
I think that just about covers it. I had a few of those questions for you, and that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about to wrap this up for linebackers.
Sounds perfect. So we're done dousing the linebackers in sardine oil. I'm Dan Kornhauser.
I'm Bobby Hunt.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Stick around. Keep an eye out Don't forget to watch our edge and D-line previews for the defense. We got corners and safeties coming up.